Hello everybody, welcome to this playthrough for Pro Division in the 3rd anniversary tournament. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. And before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also visit golfclashtommy.com for more Golf Clash related content. Get the ultimate tournament text guide if you want to have a better chance competing for a better spot in the tournament by subscribing to Patreon. Link in the description down below. You will see info box on the right hand side, elevation adjustment, then what type of ball that I do suggest you to play with, and also what type of clubs that I feel is going to be key clubs in this tough tournament. Because it's going to be a tough tournament, very tough, where you do not really get many opportunities, but we are going to find those opportunities, and I do believe I have some shots in here that will truly help you big time in getting some extra here, and therefore separate yourselves from others. So, enough talking about this, and let's talk about the holes instead, and let's go with hole number 1. For hole number 1 here in Pro, we're going to play with a 10% over adjustment, sniper, and a katana. And here I want you to play max right side spin like this. Stay away from using the top spin that I'm using here. We don't need that one. We have the wind that is going to help us getting nicely there to the pin. So to be able to get to the pin without having to go with curl and such, I want you to focus on the second bounce. Look at the second bounce here, and you see the second bounce be just between the edge of the fairway and the fringe. And look at that position together with the side spin to the right without the top spin. Have that in mind, without the top spin, and you're going to get this one extremely close, if not in the hole. Now using the top spin, you can see we have a perfect line. The problem is that the top spin pushes us too far up and then make us go too far to the right, and then we're gonna miss long. We're never going to have a problem getting the birdie though, but take away that top spin bar, then you're gonna be extremely close, making a hole-in-one here already as a start on hole number 1. So for hole number 2 here in Pro, we're going to play with an extra mile level 7 or above. You can play with a little bit lower as well. I'm gonna get to that just in a bit. Max distance, which is going to be with a Titan. 4.5 bar top spin and as much side spin to the right possible. Looking for half of the red ring inside the rough there to the right, and then we're going to adjust for a maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. If you play with a power 3 ball, you don't have to push up your target to max after you have done your adjustment. Almost 1 ball of curl outside the adjustment ring to the right, and for those of you having an extra mile level 7, will notice that that is going to be the max curl you can use. Let's say we do have an extra mile level 6 or above, or maybe a Thor's hammer with a very little curl. Then you play with either a katana or you play with a kingmaker, so you give yourself the side spin 3, which will help you to go with a club that has a little bit less curl. And the only thing to have in mind there as well is, like, if you play with a katana, push up your target to max once you have adjusted, so you're not going to lose distance. Second shot, we're going to use as much left spin possible to prevent us from adjusting down into the sand. Leave the ball guideline slightly short of pin because it's gonna come in pretty hot, and we're gonna use as much side spin to the left as mentioned, combined with 2 to 3 bars of backspin, whatever feels most comfortable, depending also about the distance that you have been getting with your drive. 10% over adjusted for the second shot as well, and this is going to be a good chance for a drop. For hole number 3, the key club here is going to be the big topper, and the big topper is going to be used in no matter what level you have the big topper in, if you're not having a Thor's hammer level 6 or better. Max top spin, 1 bar of side spin to the left, and then you're going to stretch out, so you see the ball guideline coming just straight over the rough, or at least pointing like so it is straight down the middle there. Adjust for a maximum distance plus 10%, so you need to add 10% here due to elevation. And then we're gonna go with approximately 25% of overpower, like a little bit more than covering the yellow ring, so like the red ring when it comes to overpower. We want the ball to bounce as close to the bunker as possible, and then we, in the end, want the ball to roll and roll and roll and roll, so we do get past the trees that we do have there on the right-hand side. For the second shot, you have two options. One, you can play it very aggressively by using topspin, around the 5 to 6 bars of topspin. First bounce fairway, second bounce in the rough, and then roll towards the pin. Or you're gonna do like I'm doing here and just take the eagle and be done with it. So we're gonna play without elevation and just land this one on green, or at least that is the plan. If you land it and get it to fringe or to fairway just before the green, that's no problem that either, because it's in the end it's played as an eagle hole, and if you get an eagle on this one, I can assure you that all of your opponents will not be getting an eagle on this long and tough par 5 of the Southern Pines. For hole number 4, I'm going to show you two options. One, the first one is going to be an option where we are going to go with just a regular approach towards the pin. This is going to be a very inconsistent route, but it's going to give you the birdie, and in the end you don't really have to think that much when you're making this shot. Max right spin with 1 bar of topspin, ball like adjustment rings, the red one by the rough line. Then we're going to adjust for a medium distance with a 15% over adjustment, and then we're gonna go with a little bit more than half a ball of curl to the right. The ball is gonna bounce on the fairway, and then it's gonna come in here on the green, and now we roll a little bit too much to the left. Give yourself a click more curl, then that one is going to be close, but in the end very inconsistent. Second approach here, we're gonna go for the rough bump, but the reason I did not just show the rough bump in itself is because we do need 4.5 bar topspin, and you won't be getting that if you're playing with a club below sniper level 9. The sniper level 8 has only 4 bars, so we do need the 4.5 bar topspin to be able to play this shot. And now as well, max side spin to the right with 4.5 bar topspin, aim for the hole. Now we're going to adjust for a maximum distance with a 15% over adjustment, and make sure that you do give yourself, you can see here on the ball that I'm giving myself just a tiny little bit of overpower. And the reason I want to do that is because we are dropping down into the bunker and using that click of overpower, which will be noticeable on the needle, but it will give you a little compensation from dropping down into the sand. If you do rather want to turn the screen around and push up a little bit, then you do so. But as we only need a tiny bit of overpower, then I don't think that's going to be any issue. Have in mind that with that rough bump, with a bad great left, you might not even clip the rough, so that is a risk with that one as well. But definitely, with a perfect ball, absolute best chance making a hole in one, and then all of a sudden, hole number 4 becomes actually a good possibility. Hole number 5 is a par 4, and here we are going to push this drive hard. Have in mind here though that you can play this drive with whatever driver you might have. I would prefer to play with a driver with 6 bars of topspin, which is going to be at least an Apocalypse level 3, or you can play with a Thor's hammer in a decent level as well, extra mile level 8 and so forth. So don't steer yourself blind on the Apocalypse level 5. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. And once you have done that adjustment, you push up to max. And we're going to take that shot again when it comes to the drive, because it went extremely quick. So, max top, max side, and then we're going to go and adjust, push up to max, and then we're going to have to apply curl. And the curl is going to be approximately 1 ball of curl is what I'm aiming for, and then just a teeny tiny bit of overpower, because if you use too much overpower, you're going to carry that ball all the way down into the water, and then you are in trouble big time. You need to be lucky rolling through the rough there. Sometimes you're going to sometimes you're going to drop dead in the rough, and then it's important that you do just play it for the birdie. But if you roll out to the fairway, you do have a good opportunity from distance. You can't see the tip of the ball guideline most likely because it's very bright, but I'm using max backspin, 1 bar of side spin to the left, and the ball guideline directly into the hole. So in the end, I'm not leaving any gap whatsoever here with the tailwind, adjusting for no elevation whatsoever based on club distance, and then you're gonna get that shot very nicely if not in the hole, but it's going to be extremely close. And in the end, it's all about the drive. If you do not make the drive correct, or let's say you are very unlucky and drop dead short with the drive, you will most likely not get the eagle, but then you're going to get a safe birdie. A final tip here though, use the machete. I know a lot of people love when I say that word, but use that club as a safety net. If you get into the rough, then you can use max backspin and still have a teeny tiny opportunity for the eagle from distance. So tough hole 5 here, but definitely eagle if you make a good drive. For hole number 6, we're going to start with the quarterback and a titan, and I would like you to pick a bag with the guardian if you have the guardian in level 7 plus. I'm going to talk about, I would say level 5 plus, sorry about that. I will talk about the guardian in just a bit. And then we're going to use topspin here. We're going to use max side spin to the right. And we're going to use as around 2 to 4 bars of topspin. I'm going to leave this one at 3. Because we do want to get a decent amount of distance. So we're not going to have any problem for the second shot. But in the end, if we do not get enough distance, we're going to have a very big time. A very tough time to get the ball to where we want to. So 3 bars topspin, max right, and then you apply a half a ball of curl in the end. You're gonna get to a very nice distance of 330 yards. Second shot, I play with the guardian. I'm not going to bother with a rough bump here, as I do not really feel comfortable rough bumping it with a big dog or with a cataclysm. But for those of you that do feel comfortable with that, then do so. I would like, if I'm going to rough bump, I'm going to rough bump with a sniper. So I do have a decent ball guideline, which I'm doing in expert on this hole because I play there with a power 4. Here, guardian, and then we're going to adjust with no elevation for the second shot, and then we're going to adjust and we're going to push it up in the end because we measured first how far we were into overpower. I'm using half a ball of curl, which is a little bit too much, just a click of curl to the right, and then would be getting it close, but I'm not expecting anything here on hole number 6, which is a very tough par 5. An eagle is totally fine by me. For hole number 7, we are going to play with the sniper, and the reason we play with the sniper is due to we are having headwind. So, power 1 ball, which is going to be a navigator or a quasar. I suggest a navigator due to its wind resistance, like we do have wind resistance 2 instead of wind resistance 1 as we do have on a quasar. We are going to adjust by looking at the ball guideline to the hole using 1.5 bar of backspin. Maximum distance, even though we aren't in maximum distance, with a 20% over adjustment. And in the end, we need to remove a little bit of backspin here and also apply 1 to 1.5 bar side spin to the left, and then we're going to be there. This is going to be a good opportunity where we're either going to be close or we're gonna go in the hole. But make sure you make those tiny tweaks with backspin and side spin based by the position that we do have here in the video. For hole number 8, we're going to go back and play with the quarterback once again. And here we're going to play with a power 2 side spin 3 ball, which is the katana. I'm going to look for the blue ring by the rough line there, at least as a start, using max side spin to the right together with around 3 to 4 bars of top spin. I would say here in the end that this is going to be a drive where we could play it a bit more conservative, giving ourselves a shorter drive than having a long iron towards the pin. But I want short iron. So therefore I'm going to use overpower, and I'm going to use approximately 1.5 ball curl to the right. The beautiful part with the quarterback when it comes to overpower is that you don't really need to hit perfect. The ball is going to go approximately to where you aimed anyway. But the problem is though, using overpower, is that we will most likely struggle getting the drive to the same position. Use the rock if you can, then you most likely don't have to use overpower. But in the end, we do want to get ourselves into short iron range, which you're gonna get if you drive more than 310 yards. Now, for the second shot, we're going to use the red ring as a reference point, letting the ball guideline go slightly through the hole. And from here, we do want to play in between mid and max distance with no elevation. And obviously, for those of you that like to mixture a little bit with elevation, make sure that you do choose the elevation that suits the adjustment here. So in the end, I play without elevation and then I dial it in from there. And we adjust and we're going to take our shot. You might wonder why I play with the Hornet and not with the Thorn. It's because the Hornet gives us the topspin that is needed, because sometimes we're gonna go a little bit further and sometimes a little bit shorter, and we do not want to find ourselves in a spot where the topspin of the Thorn won't be enough. But the Hornet will always, at least in a decent level, have the topspin that you're looking for the rough bump there for an eagle. Very good opportunity. I would consider this one to be almost a must if you're gonna have something to do with winning the tournament in pro. For the last hole in this playthrough, we are going to play hole number 9, and we are going to play this one with a quarterback and a cataclysm. And if you don't have a cataclysm, or you have it in a very, very low level, you choose the big dog. Then I also want you to play with a berserker ball here. The reason for that is that we do want the distance for the drive, but especially for the second shot. And the thing that I'm looking for here now is to find a spot where I can play from max distance and don't have to push up anything or overpower anything or something like that. Max side spin, and we're going to play this one in the end with around 4 bars of backspin. I say around 4 bars of backspin because you can push this one differently, because you can get closer to the rough or you can get further away and still be able to reach. And I do personally believe this distance is going to be totally fine, and now we're gonna have no problem reaching for the green in 2. Half a ball of curl, don't forget about that. That is something that is very important. Second shot, use as much side spin to the right possible, and then we're going to play with 4 bars of topspin. You can play with less as well and go with more overpower, but I like to use a 4 bars of topspin and just put myself over to the fairway and then just roll towards the pin. Around 50% of overpower with your shot. Just make sure that you are going to clear the rough. But in the end, you might wonder, why do I choose this approach instead of trying to clear the water? The reason is the risk and reward. If we take the risk of going over the water, we have to get the ball to bounce through the rocks and over onto the fairway, which is not something that's going to happen all the time. So instead of doing so, I do lay up like I do here in this example and just take a safe eagle all the time, because I do not see the reward of getting over the water by bringing home a bunch of albatrosses. I don't see that happening, even though the albatross will be an opportunity if you do so. So I would say lay up, take the safe eagle, focus on the other holes to get a drop, because I can promise you that your opponent will not drop this albatross many times, if not any. So in the end, everyone, thank you so much for watching this playthrough for Pro Division. It's going to be a tough tournament, but I hope with this playthrough you will get some ideas and also see some shots that you will be getting to drop yourself. I'm going to go and start tweaking and dial it in even more, so get the ultimate tournament text guides to crush this tournament together with us. A guide here with these tough holes is going to be very valuable. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Thank you so much and good luck in the tournament.